Hello and welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway for the BMW Sports Car Club of America National Capital Chapter. This is Raceverse and I am Matt Houston. And we've got a good one here for us tonight. A little bit different track. We've talked about it in previous weeks in the interviews. I think it's the first time these drivers will be running this track. This is the road course, the Roval, one of two layouts here, road course layouts at Homestead Miami Speedway. Looks like we're going with the B option today that runs the oval turn 3 and 4. Thought we might be running the A that cuts in, but this one's the higher downforce one, and this is in the middle of qualifying. We got the 3 minutes left. Currently, Chris Hill, provisional pole. Stefan Bopp there in P2. Steve Ficacci, P3. Darren Treakle, P4. We've got Trace Hance, a driver we haven't seen in a few races. This might be the first race this season that we've actually seen him out here. So good to see him back in the series. Ryan Kennedy running in P6. Colin Kortanek in P7. Dean Tulane in the SEO Mike car there in P8. Igor Soiker there at P9. Barry Buchanan. I believe Barry is the mastermind behind, I don't know if everybody's running it, but they kind of build a baseline setup in this league that gets shared around with everybody, and Barry's been the one to build that one this week, and actually last week, as far as I understand. Everybody's telling me everybody's thanking Barry for his work on the setup. So shout out to Barry there. Perry Duncan there in P11. Our admin, Scott Kim, letting Chris Hill go through. Bobby Blankenship on pit lane. Sten Cellier back this week from the Beltway Brewing Company car. Currently in P14. Matthew Stover. I don't think he was here last week, but he's back this week in P15. Peter Yerkes rounding out our field in P16. So we're going to get a run through. Let's see if we can get a run through, do an in-car here before our race gets started, before qualifying ends here. I'm going to find the best car to do this with. Could it be Dean? No, he's not on the track. Okay, let's go on board with Stefan Bopp here. So this is the turn 1, turn 2 complex here. This is turn 2. Left-hander, really fast off the front straightaway of the oval. Turn 3, really slow part of the track here. Quick from a left to a right-hander. Turn 4, turn 5, hug that curb, heading to the first of the, well, it's sort of a double apex hairpin here. Turn 6, heavy braking, really good passing point here. Turn 7, not really a passing point, but this is heading to the big hairpin down here at turn 8. This will be a left-hander. Really quick laps here. We're going to be doing 40 minutes tonight, so we'll probably be running 35 or 36 laps here with how the math will come out. So that was turn 8, a best passing point on the track. Turn 9, so we're going to have a long shoot. We're going to be running the turns 3 and 4 of the oval here. Something we don't usually do. Daytona Roval, we did it. But the high banks here, Homestead Miami Speedway. I guess it's something with Florida where we're running the high banks here across the start-finish line. So that's about 10 corners. Well, it depends if you count the oval. Sometimes they do a weird thing where, so in NASCAR land, they call it turns 3 and 4. I guess IndyCar does as well. There's 4 corners in the oval, but on the road course, they might only consider that 2 turns. Okay. So qualifying is ended. We're going to let hot laps go out. Currently, Chris Hill top of the charts there. We're about a second between first and 9th, so that's a really tight field. I thought we might see that here tonight. And yeah, shout out to everybody watching, and thanks to our sponsors here, Treakle Insurance Agency. You've heard a lot about them as you've watched, but Treakle Insurance Agency, they do auto, home, business, and life insurance, and they teamed up with that Hagerty Insurance, and they do collector car coverage as well as race car and track day coverage, and you can check them out, treakleinsurance.com. Some new sponsors to come on board this season is SEO Mike. From what I've heard, SEO Mike is the one that bumped us up to do the full season here from the half season last season. But that is SEO Mike, and they specialize in organic search optimization, and they've been doing it for 24 years. That's a lot of time there, and they've done worked on over 4,000 websites in a wide variety of industries, and they give you strong rankings, and this leads to growth on your website, traffic, sales, and revenue ultimately. And then we've got Beltway Brewing Company. I can see Beltway pairing up with that SEO Mike here, and so they're out of Sterling, Virginia, as we see that Porsche space car in the side-by-side there. We're going to be pacing momentarily. So Beltway Brewing Company out of Sterling, Virginia, they proudly represent the DMV, and you can check out their lineup of unique IPAs, lagers, sour stouts, and even seltzers. And they have Peruvian Brothers, empanadas, and flights right now that you can get over at that tap room. We don't have to talk about any of this social distancing kind of in-store pickup. Of course, they do that kind of stuff too, but go hang out at the tap room. I bet they might have us on the broadcast on one of the TVs from time to time. That'd be pretty cool. They should let me know if they do that. I did another broadcast for another league where they do actually have us out in the pub or the bar, or whatever it might be. Anyway, beltwaybrewco.com is where you can find them. At Beltway Brew Co. on social media. That's the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that kind of stuff. So that is enough of that. Let's get onto the grid here. Thanks to our sponsors, ones that make it happen here. And a shout out to Trace Hance. We'll get Trace on the camera at some point here. So we got apparently Stefan Vapa. Wait a minute here. We might have something messed up here. Interesting. Did Chris Hill drop out of this disconnect? Okay, well, we got Stefan Vapa on the pole, followed by Darren Treakle, Trace Hance, Igor Soiker, Dean Tulane. Okay, there's Chris Hill. Not sure what happened to him. Are we doing... maybe I missed a memo there. Barry Bocaner in P7, Perry Duncan P8, Bobby Blankenship P9, Sten Cellier P10, Scott Kim P11, Steve Ficacci P12, Brian Kennedy P13, Colin Kortanek P14, Peter Yerksa P15. So we're missing a car. Is it Stover? I believe it's Stover. We got a shout out to Trace here. See if we can get a close-up view. There's Trace on there, but not quite close-up view. We'll see if we can get a camera on him at some point. There's Trace going around the corner of P6. And as always, you can shout out in the chat your favorite driver. And we give him some screen time. Of course, with Trace there, never an issue with getting screen time on Trace. Usually one of the front runners. Okay, I think that our grid was incorrect there because Chris Hill is in that expected P1 position. So I'm not sure what happened there. iRacing updates all the time, and sometimes they can mess things up here. So our grid might not be exactly as I read it out there. I see that it is Chris Hill P1, Stefan Vapa P2, followed by Ficacci P3, and I believe that was Treakle P4, and Trace Hansen P5. Pacing here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. See what we look like up in the blimp here. Get that field of 15, 16 cars out here. Pace car is going to duck in, that Porsche pace car. And that will leave the field up to... Ooh, a bit of a checkup there as Chris Hill... Almost like a brake check there. We'll have to ask him about that if we get that podium interview. What happened there? Side by side into turn 1 and 2. on the curbs. Side by side still is Hill and Vapa, Treakle in P3, followed by Fikachi in P4. Trace Hance in P5. Under pressure from Igor Soiker there into this first kind of double hairpin, or double apex hairpin. Heading back up to the front of the field. So far, so good. Everybody clean through as we start our 40-minute race here. We're estimating 33 laps is what we are currently estimating. And we might have quite a bit of passing. So that's one of our passing points. But onto this long turn 3 and 4 section into turn 1, we're going to have some high speeds. Trace Hance in P5. As Hill brings us down for our first lap completed. Hard on the brakes is Hill, followed by Vapa. Sunny here in Florida today. Chris Hill and that precision racing instruction car. Followed by Stefan Vapa. Vapa Vintage is what I read on the side of that. Treakle Insurance there in P3. Go on board with Darren here. Hard onto the brakes at turn 8. See the palm trees on the back straightaway here. So the Grand Am sports cars ran here occasionally. I believe IMSA has run it before. IndyCar ran the oval as the finale, probably over 10 or 11 years ago now, as Vapa putting the pressure up ahead. I'm going to go over to Vapa here. And hear that traction control working. That's that weird sound that you hear. So this is a very NASCAR oval. It was originally built for IndyCar back in the 90s. Very flat layout back then, about 9 degrees, kind of a short version, 1.5 mile version of Indianapolis, basically. But over the years, they've modified it probably 2 or 3 times, and ending up on this progressively banked oval. That's good kind of for the NASCAR. It's good for IndyCar, but unfortunately, nobody showed up for the race very much, like maybe 20,000 people, and you need about 40 or 50,000 people to pay for one of those races. So the promoters ended up cutting out on that one. Unfortunate for the fans, because it actually was a pretty good track. Hill has checked out just a bit now, half a second. We'll go look for some other battles out here. Dean Tulane putting the pressure on Colin Kortanek there, as I see a lot of dust in that turn 1 section. SEO Mike car, let's go on board with the SEO Mike car here. Of Dean Tulane. Got an interview with Dean last week. I believe that was our first interview we've had with Dean in the series. Got a cutaway. We've got a battle for second here developing. Vapa just dropping back from Hill in P2. And we can see the Hill is kind of checking out about 1.5 seconds, but that's putting Vapa into the clutches of Darren Treakle here. I'm hearing a lot of support for Trace Hance here from Maine, so shout out to them. We appreciate the viewer interaction always here on the Race First channel. I'm in the booth by myself here tonight. Sometimes we've got a partner in the booth, but it gets a little lonely up here, and it's good to have our fan support in the chat. For our drivers, our stars on the track. So looking back to P6 is Brian Kennedy. Kind of in the middle of two battles here. But a big gap. Well, it just came down. So big gap to Bobby Blankenship from Dean Tulane there, P9 to P8, about 11 seconds. Yeah, we weren't really sure how this particular, you always have these thoughts in your mind as a driver about how is this track going to race. So this is unknown territory for all these drivers. So far, haven't quite seen as much passing as I thought there might be, but we will see. As this night progresses, the tires get old. Darren is right there on Vapa. Oh, as Vapa goes a little wide through that left-hander, then right-hander. He's coming under pressure now from Darren. But is it enough, a long enough straightaway for Darren to make a move? Oh, as Vapa goes around. And that puts Darren, right in front of... Vapa gets back on track right in front of Dean there. But that's going to put Darren into P2. Now we'll see if Darren can kind of check out. Maybe Stefan there was slowing Darren down. Now Steve Ficacci there. Takes over that podium position in P3. Trace takes over the spot in P4, starting P3 according to this. I think it was actually P5. I think our data on the starting positions was incorrect here tonight. So we've got a shout out to Barry here. Barry has dropped back. He had to make a pit stop, I'm seeing, early in the race. Everybody's going to have to make a pit stop at some point or another, so we'll see what kind of recovery Barry can get from this at this moment. Got a battle heating up for these podium positions here. I'm searching through if there are any more battles. So that puts Brian Kennedy into a top 5 position there. I'm going to go on board with Trace here as we head on to the oval section of the course. These cars just seem to spread out a little bit when they hit that oval. It's like maximum speed at this point. You don't see the NASCAR is able to hold that bottom line quite like that through the entire race here. As Ficacci kicks up some dirt there. One driver we're going to have to keep an eye on is Stefan Vapa. Oh, as he goes off, as does Igor Soiker here. Oh, and what just happened here? I'm going to get a replay of this because we just had 3 drivers seem to go around here. Okay, so these are all like kind of independent. So we see Dean here drop a tire into the grass, turn it around. We'll get a look now of Stefan here. Stefan, does he do the same thing? He just completely drives off, as did Igor up there. So several drivers missing their braking points here. As we'll head back to live pictures. 30 minutes. Ficacci has a pretty good run on Darren here. Probably the best run we've seen on the straightaways here. Does he make a move? No, he does not. He thought better of it, did Ficacci. But that puts Trace Hance right there as Brian goes for another drive through the grass. So need some lawn mowing done down in turn 1 and 2. Might want to also spend some time on the other corner as well, because I think we've had enough lawn mowing there in the first turn for tonight. 3 or 4 cars. I think that was the 4th car that we've had mow the grass there in turn 1 and 2 complex. Hill is just checking out here, 4 seconds ahead of Darren here. Looking through for any tighter battles in the field. This is the battle, though. This one for the podium positions here. Keeping out Vapa here, so he is gaining ground on Soiker. About a half second a lap faster. Oh, we've got Perry Duncan around. This is after turn 6 into 7 as he gets it straightened up and going. An update from Barry here. Navigating around. Keeping it clean. Sten Cellier from Beltway Brewing Company car. Back up to the front, or that battle for podium position. Really tight here between Treakle, Ficacci, and Hans. Ooh, Darren looked like he missed his apex there just ever so slightly. We'll see if Ficacci can take advantage of that. Right there is Hans as well. You can see that little bit of a red car way up there. That is, well, actually, okay, yeah, it is. I was just making sure. That is the leader, so he's way up there in P1. See if we got any other interesting camera views. Not that one. Here we go. Perfect. Oh, as we have Treakle has gone off. More grass mowing, and he gets back on the track, and he turns it around. Oh, and he's trying to get back on in front of some other drivers. Luckily safe so far. A little bit of danger zone there for a moment. Gets it back going. Let's get a replay there of Darren's mistake. I think it was the same mistake a lot of other drivers have been having. In fact, he might have been, looking in his rear view mirror from Ficacci here, right there. Misses that apex, goes for another drive through the grass. As we said over at VIR, it was New Jersey Motorsports Park. There's a lot of grass, and these drivers like to drive on it. So that's where we are at. That's going to drop Darren back to P7, so he might still be in the interview position here, as Trace will be taking over that podium position. And Trace is only a half a second back on. So I'm just going to show, well, I'm not going to cut away from it for a moment. As Ficacci, Trace is right on Ficacci here. Trace wants that second position. See the donuts in the corner back there from when Treakle went off. These drivers putting equal laps last lap. Oh, Trace did drop a tire in the grass there. Gotta be careful with that. But yeah, I guess this is kind of, with this being a new track for a lot of these drivers, this is kind of the expectation, is that we might see a lot of mistakes from these drivers. And everybody, you only have so much time to learn these tracks, and a lot of the tracks we've been going to, they know almost like the back of their hand, but this one's new for almost everybody in the entire league. I have to wonder if this one's really new for Trace here, though. He magically shows up tonight, so I wonder if he maybe thought, this one's one I'm going to show up for and see how I can do here. I know this one. We'll see. We'll have to ask him if he finishes on the podium there. Right on that bumper is Trace. Looking back, Igor Soiker also battling with Treakle, got around him. So Soiker in P7, Treakle P6. Battle between... Okay, we do have Stover in this race. And he is missing a front grill, I believe, there. Can't tell with the black paint, but yeah, he's missing that. So he's under pressure from Yerksa. So one thing I want to look at here, I want to point out, I was going to cut away from it at one point. Let's see if I can do this here. I might have to use my mouse here. Okay, well, Trace is right there, but look at that. Oh boy. Slow-mo here. Not quite there, but what I want to look at here. Look at this dirt that has been kicked up on the track. Oops. Well, I'm going to go back to it next lap. I will check it. Hitting the wrong buttons here in the booth, but you probably saw that dirt, and I will pinpoint it. So when they're driving through that dirt, it's lowering the grip on their tires, and then the next corner is after this really, really fast section, and that might be what they're getting, a little bit of pickup on their tires. Dirt pickup means low grip, and that is all simulated here in iRacing, so that might be what these drivers are experiencing. So I'm hearing that this is, as I had said, that this is one of Trace's tracks. Okay, well, I see it right there on the car. It says Club Florida on the car, so that'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about. No wonder. I wonder if he's driven it in real life, too. So there, we saw my replay thing. I want to just pause that. Right there, you can see that dirt right there. People have been kicking it up on the track, and it's like that Florida beach there in that apex of the turn one corner that they're all kicking up onto the track. Fikachi goes defensive here. Checking out the battle between Cortanic and Bobby Blankenship. He is right there as well. I'm also keeping an eye on my ticker that makes sure that I'm not missing any battle with between Hans and Fikachi here. Very cool that Trace has been driving this track in real life. It is a great track. Really underrated, I think. Most people don't even realize there's a road course here in Homestead, Miami. So the Indy Lights cars, the IndyCar doesn't run this, but the Indy Lights here, they ran like a winter practice type of race, like an exhibition scrimmage race here a few years ago. They don't use the oval turn 3 and 4 though. As we are halfway through this one, we still got 20 minutes to go, and we probably have a pit stop coming up at some point. Heading back up to our leader, we don't want to forget about, we've got a domination happening up here. The PRI car of Chris Hill dominating at the front, 7 seconds ahead. Little bit of a gap has developed versus earlier laps between Hans and Ficacci, but it's still right there. You know, as long as you're a second, you're pretty good. You can still apply the pressure. Looking back at Stover and Yerxa here, though, Stover should be slower on these long straightaways. Yerxa should be able to catch him. That missing grill should slow Stover down big time. I think that Cortanic might have just passed. Let's see if we get a replay of this. Yes, so he is going to complete this pass on the straightaway here over Bobby Blankenship. This is a textbook pass right there by Cortanic. Okay, Hans has hit the pits. So has our leader of Hill, and Ficacci is going to stay out. So good strategy here, possibly by Hans. He might be trying the undercut move over Ficacci. There's the undercut, where you pit earlier than the car you're fighting, and then there's the overcut, which basically is what Ficacci's doing. And we'll see how this ends up here. Yeah, I appreciate all the viewers and the interaction here tonight. Lots of cars hitting the pit lane now. We've got Vapa, Dean Tulin, almost said his name incorrectly there. Darren Treakle also in. See what Ficacci does this time. Yeah, so there is this access lane here. I wasn't 100% sure if they had to drive this to go to the pits or not. I'm not sure what the exact rule is on that or not, so we'll see. So we're gonna, Hans is back on track. He has completed his pit stop. It was a long pit stop though for Trace Hans. Not sure. He might have had a speeding penalty in the pits. That's a heartbreaker right there. I can't say much about that though myself. I did the same thing at one of my other races on Monday. I went from about 5th place to 25th place, something like that. It was not a good experience right at the end of the race too. So Ficacci is coming out of the pits, and Hans is nowhere in sight after taking that penalty. I apologize to everybody watching out here tonight that I have to be the bringer of this unfortunate news. Basically, I can see his pit was a 48-second pit. Everybody else was like a 8-second pit. The iRacing speeding penalty is a 40-second thing. So 40 plus that 8 is a 48-second pit. That is really unfortunate for Trace here. Well, we'll see though. If he can get up to P7, we'll get that interview with him. But we'll have to ask him in chat. And as he comes out, well, you see it right there at the bottom right of the screen. He comes out in that 7th position. Although Barry here, I think Barry is taking over the 6th position, but I think Barry might have to pit one more time. We will see here. So with that said, Hill solidly in the lead. Fikachi 10 seconds back in P2. Stefan Vapa P3 going through the field here. Brian Kennedy in P4. Igor Soiker in P5. Barry Buchanan in P6. See, Barry is taking that pit there. And there is Trace. So Trace is going to take over that 6th position. Kortanik is in P7. Dean Tulin in P8. Oh, as Kortanik gets a little bit of tire in that grass there. And Tulin's going to be able to take over that P7. He's looking for that interview position. So for our viewers, as Kortanik right on the bumper of Tulin, these drivers, so we interview the podium positions 1, 2, and 3. And then we kind of do a wild card interview where we interview the driver that's finished in P7. We once had a driver slow down to get that P7 position. They wanted it, and they got it. So as Tulin overcooks it in that corner there. This is the closest battle on the track. Sten Cellier from our Beltway Brewing Company car. Let's get some more shout outs to our valuable sponsors here, the ones that make this broadcast work. So SEO Mike, they specialize in organic search engine optimization, and they have been doing this since 1997. And during that time, they've helped over 4,000 websites in a wide variety of industries achieve strong rankings in search engine optimization, and that's led to growth in traffic, sales, and revenue. And of course, Beltway Brewing Company, that's Sten Cellier, who we have at the top left of the screen, the side-by-side. Beltway Brewing Company, they're located in Sterling, Virginia. Not too far from Maine there for the Hans folks there. You can check out their lineup of IPA, sour stouts, and even seltzers. Did I mention? Yeah, I think I mentioned it all. They also have Peruvian Brothers right there on tap. They've got flights and empanadas you can get. You can head on over to beltwaybrewco.com. I think they're still doing delivery to home, but not over in Maine. Probably more if you're just in Sterling, Virginia. But you can check them out at Beltway Brew Co. on social media. Heading back to live pictures with Sten Cellier putting the pressure on Yerxa. Side by side down the main straightaway they go, Cellier and Yerxa. Sorry about the heartbreak to the Ants folks there, because I was like, oh, and he's turning around again. Now he's going to go in that 7th position, though. Is anybody knocking on the door and telling him he's got to finish in 7th? When it starts to go wrong, it all goes wrong. That's just basically how it works in racing. We feel for Trace Hans out there. Heck of a race. Heck of a drive. So we had a couple other sponsors we want to mention here. That would be Treakle and Hagerty Insurance. So Treakle Insurance, let's go look at Darren here back in P9. Darren also had a speeding penalty in the pits. This must be a tough pit. Again, new track. Tough for some drivers out here. But Treakle Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency offering auto, home, business, and life insurance. And they've teamed up with Hagerty Insurance to provide collector car coverage as well as race car and track day coverage. You can check them out over at treakleinsurance.com. Check them out. Auto, home, business, and life. Trace right on Dean Tulane there. Let's check out our intervals between drivers. You can see on top left of the screen. I changed that between gaps to intervals. Trace is going to think about high side out of turn 4, oval. And he's going to take over that 6th position once again. We are estimating about 9 laps to go. I think it might be less than that. I think it might be 8 laps to go. We will see when that updates for us at some point in time during this race. But yeah, we have not seen domination like this from Hill in this series this season. Pikachi there, 10 seconds back in P2. Vapa, who had a Spinola there somewhere in this race early on in P3. Recovery drive. Brian Kennedy there in P4. Igor Soiker in P5. Trace Hance in P6. Dean Tulane in that SEO Mike car in P7. Colin Kortanek in P8. Darren Treakle, P9. Sten Cellier's moved it up to that 10th position. It's got Yuriksa. Well, that was Stover. Or is that the leader right behind him? That is a leader right behind him, getting lapped. Going on board with Hill here as he overtakes one of our lapped cars. He's putting on a clinic here tonight is Chris Hill. And again, that start position information seems to be incorrect. I'm not sure why that was, but very cool. Thanks for watching out there. Just FYI, we do have you at about like 30 to 60 second delay, so when I read it, probably is a little bit delayed. Dean is staying in range of Trace there, so that's why we'll keep them on the camera here. See some SEO Mike on that car with a big primary sponsor, but I see a little bit of Treakle Insurance on that car as well. Big gaps otherwise on the track. Scott Kim. Haven't really looked at him too much tonight, but he's about a 1.5 seconds back from Yerkes, so we'll see how that develops over the next about 5-6 minutes left in this race. So a lot of these drivers, as Hance has to pit again, it appears. Are we doing 2 pit stops here tonight? Maybe we are. We are doing a 40-minute race. Usually we do about 30-minute races, so we might have 2 pit stops here tonight. See what Hill ends up doing here. And Trace comes out of the pits. That was Vapa ahead of him. That's actually a P3 car, but we will see if anybody else has to pit here. Anybody else? Only car to take 2 pit stops there. Look back at Barry here. We've got fans watching for Barry. Well, everybody from Maine should check out Beltway Brewing Company the next trip that you guys have over to Sterling, Virginia. I'm sure Sten and company would appreciate. So Colin Kortanek here is our 7th position, but that is under pressure from Darren here, who wants that 7th position. He wants that interview position. And Colin, he was set and ready to go for that interview position in that 7th last week until the very end. He had a penalty in the final bus stop chicane in Barcelona, and that set him back, and that put Dean into that position. Treakle checking out from Kortanek there. Our lap times have fallen since the beginning of the race. So when they do these pit stops, they're not taking any new tires or anything, because those tires take a really long time to change on sports cars. You've seen how they do it in NASCAR and how they do it in maybe IndyCar or Formula One. They don't. They do it in like 3 seconds in Formula One. In IndyCar, they do about 7 seconds. In NASCAR, they do it in like 14 seconds. They only allow in sports cars like 1 or 2 guys over the wall. So they have to change tires really slowly. It takes about 40 seconds. So the strategy is to not take new tires, just take fuel and drive on 1 set of tires the entire race. So your times might actually slow down as the fuel comes down during the race. Looking at battles on the track, close battles, not really too many close battles on the track. Trace Hance is about 3 seconds back from Bobby Blankenship. Up there, it was only about a second back from Sten Sellier, so that's the closest battle we have on the track. Let's go on board with Bobby here. Oh boy. Bobby getting a little squirrely in the rear end there. You could see on the left side of the screen where he corrected opposite lock a little bit there. On board with Trace here once again, because he's actually catching these guys in front of him. And we've got about 2 laps to go here, so he's got only a little bit of time to do it. He's currently running in 13th, so he's not sure what happened. We'll have to see what he said in chat about what happened. But as I said earlier, once one thing goes wrong, it kind of all goes wrong. So we're on our final lap, heading up to the front. Final lap for Chris Hill. White flag. 11 seconds ahead. This is domination here, once again, from Hill. Just looking at Darren being in P7. On one more time across the back straightaway here, through ovals, turn 3 and 4. Is Hill, and he will come across start-finish line for another victory here in the NCC BMW Car Club of America, followed by Fikachi. And Vapa behind him. So one of our features that we do here in this particular series is we have a destruction derby near the end of the race. So we will see what happens here with our destruction derby. This could be a good one. Looks like Kennedy's just going to take the oval here. We've got Scott Kim. I know Scott's going to be looking for what will cause the most destruction here. Maybe the pit attenuator? No, he chooses not to the pit attenuator. We call that in another league that we do, the pit attenuator party. There it is. Oh, as I cut away right when that happened, but I think he went flying. Let's see if we can get... Let's go back a little bit here. Okay, we got slow-mo on Scott Kim here, as we will have our interviews here momentarily. So that is, I believe that's Stover, Kaboom, and that was it. They just let Scott disappear. We didn't get our flying like we really wanted. So that is it for us there. We'll be right back. We'll get our interviews going. All right, we are back. Let's see who we can pull up to the broadcast. Chris Hill would be the first one, so we'll bring him up. Hey, Chris, this is Matt up in the booth. Got a copy?
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Good. Well, dominating fashion here tonight. Tell me about your race.
Well, it was definitely interesting. Coming up to it, I kept throwing a setup and at the car, trying to get it to be halfway decent, and it was kind of a nightmare. And somehow I guess I kind of stumbled across something there just before the end of practice that I felt comfortable with, and I guess it ended up paying off, because up until then, I thought I was going to be off in turn one or spinning somewhere within the race, and I think that's partially what it came down to. I don't know exactly what happened behind. I'm sure that helped too, because Stefan was there for a bit and then he wasn't, and then I think Steve had a bit more of a battle to get through. It looked like towards the end of the race pretty close on pace, but too far back to really give much of a challenge at that point. So
yeah, you're kind of there's this is like totally different. Well, it's a little bit like Daytona Road, but there's these really long straightaways basically because of the NASCAR 3 and 4 corners, and then you have this interior road course section that has really slow corners. So I could see where it'd be a struggle with the setup on one that's making kind of a low drag setup, but then one that has enough grip in those low speed corners
For
to
sure.
get you through there.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those head scratchers, trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to get it to be drivable in the infield and then still have enough speed down the straight. And every time I'd be like, oh, the infield's great, then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have a second slow
Yeah.
down the straight. So so definitely was an adventure, but fortunate that I figured out what I figured out at the end there, because it
Hmm.
was it was all of a sudden the car completely transformed right at the end of practice, and I was like, oh, okay, I can drive this now finally. So up until then, I really didn't expect to have that strong of a run. So, but it was good, good battling with Stefan for the first couple laps there, and it was definitely fun, and
Hmm.
um, yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah,
So
I'd be curious. I thought we might be doing there's two road course variants here. I thought we might have been running the other version that doesn't have turn 3 and 4. It cuts back in on that oval back straightaway into kind of a slow section. Well, it actually has some fast corners, but it's you'd probably want a higher downforce, more grippier setup on it. So
yeah, that would have
maybe
been a
if we
much easier
ever,
one to set up for, because you wouldn't have
yeah,
had the big sweeper and stuff. You would
yeah,
definitely run way more downforce for that, but it definitely put an interesting mix on it, because I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
maybe next season we can convince Scott to have that one on here just to give it a try. Anyway, any sponsors, anybody watching out there? Wife, of course, that you want to thank.
yeah, the usual. Always thanking the wife, and always got to mention Precision Racing Instruction, which is a private instruction business. We coach people either on the sim or in real life, depending on what they're looking at doing. Been doing this for a little while, about I don't know, 21, 22 years or something now, something like that. And definitely really enjoy helping people get faster and find what more they have to get out of the car, or whatever the case may be. So you can look us up on either Facebook or Instagram, and yeah, we'll see what we can do to help you guys out if anybody is interested. But always thanks to Scott for putting on a great league. I mean, I really still very much enjoy this league, and the guys that are at the front are really fun to race against. They're very, very clean racers, and you always know that they're going to race you fairly and stuff like that. So it's really nice to have that, to know that you don't have to worry about crazy maneuvers, and that you can go side by side through everything. And always, thanks for putting on such a good broadcast and stuff too. It's definitely fun to tune in and have the family tune in, and
Sounds
watch
good.
something. So
Well, good
yeah,
talking to you, Chris. So next week, Mid Ohio. I'm not sure if we've run Mid Ohio on that. I think we have, but
we
it's
did
one of my
last season.
favorite. One of my favorite.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna end up being out for next week.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna be in Indianapolis with the BMW school that I work at, doing some stuff with some GT4. So it's not gonna be the worst reason to miss. But unfortunately, I think I'm gonna end up missing that, and maybe one more round before the end of the season, which is a little bit of a bummer. But um, yeah, we'll have fun when we're in town, and see where we end up.
Sounds good. So you're gonna be. You said Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, we've got a program going on out there for a couple of days at the beginning of the month, and then we'll be back for the end of the month with some GT4 race cars,
Very
which I'm
cool.
heavily looking forward to the chance to drive on the speedway. Even I might have to sneak onto the track going the proper direction without the road course at some point, just to say I did it. So
That's right.
should be
Well,
fun.
that's going to be a great time. But yeah, we'll see you back in a couple weeks or whenever you end up coming back, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks,
All
man.
right, take care.
You too.
All right, we will bring up. That sounds pretty fun. Steve Ficacci here. There he is. Hey, Steve. This is Matt up here in the booth. Got a copy?
I do.
Sounds good. Well, tell me about your race. It wasn't the easiest thing for you, it didn't look like, but
Yeah, I'm just happy it's over. I just never really, I don't know. I don't want to say I didn't come to grips with it, but for whatever reason, I was just timid and worried I was going to go off turn one.
Well, a lot of people did. I mean, did you go off once? I mean, because a lot. I couldn't keep.
No incidents.
Okay, well, that's
Definitely
good.
should have pushed more.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I never actually went off, and like I said, there's probably some left on the table there, but I just too many mistakes. You know, we run the practice race last night, and just seemed like there was too many possibilities to just jump up and grab you. So I just kind of ran consistent laps and didn't get too caught up in racing anybody. Just ran my own race.
well, with the point system, how it is, that's actually the best strategy.
It's always the best strategy.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was, there was a 20-point difference between P1 and P2, yeah, it might be a little different, but it's like literally only 1 point difference between P1 and P2. So, that is, finishing races is the way to go in that kind of point system. I was just talking about it with somebody earlier today, how he had no podiums the entire season and he finished like 4th in points, something like that. So, a slow and steady wins the race. So, as they say, hey, but...
I was going to say my qualifying didn't go great, and I was 3rd, and then Darren jumped me on the start. And I really, like I said, I was trying to run my own race, and there's no room to really get by, and it seemed like we were all very closely matched, and Stefan made a mistake, and then I think Darren made a mistake, and then by then Chris in first was, I don't even know.
He checked out, yeah.
And it was like I could push really hard and make up a 10th here and there, but it's
yeah.
But
you could also throw it off the track and lose 20 seconds. Yeah.
That was it. I was like, maybe if I picked up a 10th every lap, or maybe 2 tenths every lap, I might get him by the end, but that's a lot of ifs. And,
yeah.
I just wasn't willing to do it.
Well, it was a good race for you, regardless. I mean, you and Chris are neck and neck in the points. I just heard that he's not going to be here next week, so so that'll be good for you.
You never know. Things come up.
Yeah. You're right.
Take it off too, and we'll be back at the same spot, and who knows? Like you said, 4th place might win the championship.
Yeah, you never know. With again, how that point system works, it's like, you got to show up every week just about. But yeah, any sponsors, anything like that you want to shout out to?
Yeah, same ones as usual. I need to thank my wife for letting this all happen at night and helping get the kids to bed, all that. Rick's Flicks and Virtual Racer Group.
Sounds good. Well, next week we're at Mid-Ohio. Any thoughts going there?
I've done a few races there. I don't know if I'm great at it, but I enjoy it. So there's that.
Well, it is a good track. IndyCar officially, like in the real world, is actually going there this weekend, and that's on July 4th. So if you're looking for something to do, yeah, watch that. On the replay or something like that.
Yeah.
So I hope you have a good weekend, safe weekend, and we'll see you back next week.
Great, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's see. We've got Stefan there in P3. Let's see. There he is. Hey, Stefan, this is Matt up here in the booth. Got a copy?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good. Well, you had an adventure today, didn't you?
Yeah, it shouldn't have been so adventurous. Yeah.
Well, but you made it back to the podium, maybe through some others' misfortunes, but that's the way racing works. So, you got here, but tell me about your race.
Well, it was going great, actually. I was really comfortable sitting behind Chris early on. That what I did realize, and I knew it going into the race, was that my setup would fall off the tires around lap 3, and basically they would just lose their edge.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never seen them lose their edge quite so fiercely before. And I think some of it may have been exacerbated. I'm not sure, but I think on one of the times around the banking, I might have touched the apron. And it kicked the car sideways briefly, which did 2 things. It probably overheated that right rear, just gave it a spike, but it also put my heart in my throat. I'm just sitting there going, what the? And so on that same lap is when I made my later mistake and just spun it, and then found my way back on track. And after that, it was just trying to work my way back up through, which was Not too bad. A couple of folks managed to move over or off the track for me. That made that relatively easy. The car was, like I say, off the edge of the tires and just not a lot of fun to drive anymore. It has a small window for
or it might have been too fun. Is that what it was? It might have been too fun.
That could be one way to think about it. This track is genuinely hateful. What a terrible racetrack this is. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's.
I actually kind of like it, but in moderation. A Roval. I do not like Charlotte Roval for sure, but this one's okay.
I don't mind Rovals necessarily, but this one it's either flat out or crawling.
Mm-hmm.
They're all first and second gear corners, so you end up feeling like you're driving a dragster around the tracks. Just go slow, go slow, and it gets a little tiring.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. It's like tiptoeing, but I guess I got the hang of it all right. I had never driven this track before this week, so I was happy to be on the pace. That was refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a fun start. It was nice figuring out that you actually could kind of go side by side, even briefly.
Yes.
To begin with, but it was close thing. So, but it was fun. Except for the fact that the track is so annoying.
Yeah, I was wondering, so there's another layout here, and I mentioned this to, I don't know, Chris, I might have even mentioned it to you last week, or whoever I was talking to last week. There's another layout that doesn't use the oval turn 3 and 4. It would cut back from the, on the back straightaway there, it would cut through, and it's kind of a fast section, but still, it's not like the oval section. I wonder if running that one might be interesting for another season sometime, just because everybody just bought this track, so, to get more use out of the track, but we'll see how you guys like that one, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Scott,
it's a possibility. I mean,
yeah.
What you've got with a Roval is you've always got that need to run a low downforce setup.
Yes, and then they're so slow, the corners, though. Yeah,
and they're so slow, and that really doesn't matter, because no matter what downforce you're running, these corners are so slow, you're only going to get an advantage in the braking zone.
Yeah, it's mechanical grip at that point. Yeah.
It's all mechanical grip and how your springs are set up otherwise. So it's that compromise that you're always making for the straight line speed. I was hoping, because I was running a zero wing setup, that it would be a little more dramatic in having a difference over some of the other guys. But I guess most of the front guys were running the
also
same low wing setup. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, hey, any shout outs, any thank yous, sponsors, that kind of thing you want to thank?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I'd love to thank my wife for tolerating my insanity, my mother and father for birthing it, and I'm just happy to be a part. And so thanks for the folks that organize it and sponsor it.
Sounds good. Well, we will see you next week. We're back at a more normal track in Mid-Ohio. So any thoughts going there?
Mid-Ohio is a good driver's track. It's a difficult one to pass at.
Yeah, it is.
Narrow. But it's a good driver's track. It has a lot of elevation change, which makes it entertaining basically all the time.
Yes.
So it won't be boring.
And after all, it is officially called the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit, I believe. So there you go.
Yeah. So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Don't know how well it's going to race necessarily with these cars, but it'll be a fun drive.
Yeah, it'll be one of these tracks where there's a lot of mistakes through Thunder Valley, I believe what it's called, and that's kind of where you can pounce and make some moves. So, but yeah, we'll see you back next week.
That's the plan, absolutely.
All right, see you then. Have a safe weekend as well.
All right, thank you, Matt.
Yep.
You too.
Thanks. All right. Hey, Darren. So you were lucky enough to finish 7th. So we get to hear about your race.
Yeah, I was either gonna rage quit or get up to 7th. Those are my two options.
So from what I can tell, you might have had a speeding penalty in the pits. Is that the truth? Okay.
Yeah. Let me stop here. I'm actually doing some laps at Brands Hatch in the car.
All right.
So yeah, I spun out there. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
second. I spun. So I was like, let me see if I can make up a little time going into the pits. So when I was in the pits, iRacing used to have this thing where if you shift up into high gear, like fourth or fifth,
You mean the like 2-3-2-3 thing?
you could go, like if the pit speed was 40, you could do 41, 42,
Mhm.
40, kind of thing. And it saved you almost a second or so. But I don't know if they fixed that or I just wasn't paying attention and I went just a tad bit too fast, too long. So it gave me a 26, or no, 40.
It's always a 40 second.
It was a 40-second hold after I fueled up. So
yeah, it's awful. Yeah.
So which it's a bit much, but whatever. And so then I just came out and I was like, let's see. I was like, I'm not really enjoying this very much. So do I just keep going or do I stop? I wasn't really gelling with the track.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, maybe I can get up to 7th so I can at least get on to do an interview.
Yeah. Well, it worked out.
Yeah, here we are.
Yep. Well, you weren't the only one that had a speeding penalty, and I've been unlucky myself. I had a Monday race, big league race, and I also got a speeding penalty right at the end. And this is on an oval in an Indy car, and that is the worst because you literally go 2 laps down. So I feel for you. I know how it feels.
I mean, it was my own doing. It's not like I came into the pits. I was slowed down enough. I had my limiter on. I was good. If I'd have just, but I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can save a little bit of time here. And I clicked off the limiter, put it up in 4th gear, and that's, started doing that. And it didn't happen right away.
Yeah, they give you a little bit of a tolerance for it, I think, but yeah.
I may have pushed it a little too much. I mean, that used to be a thing.
Maybe, yeah, I was going to say a year ago. So on the Indy car, you can do this thing where you're like 1-2, 1-2, like you'd flip it back and forth because the shifting is so quick on those cars. And it would go like, you said 40, but 41 or 40, 41, 40, 41. And that would get you a little bit of time. So people would do that. But I think that they put in some code that detects that kind of thing now and gives you that penalty.
I mean, yeah, well, there is a big thing about it when a lot of the pro racers were iRacing because there wasn't any real racing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Max Verstappen or somebody, but they kind of, for whatever reason, got in trouble. I think it was in one of the V8 supercar race, and it was one of the guest appearances by someone that doesn't run the Australian V8 supercar.
Yeah, I do remember something like this. Could have been Lando Norris or something though too. He does a lot.
It was one of those guys, and there was a big stink about the fact that he saved time by doing that.
Yeah.
And you're not allowed to do that, and blah blah blah. But hey, if they allow you to do it, they allow you to do it. I mean,
yeah.
Redo the code so you can't do it.
Every driver is going to take whatever advantage they can give you. They give you.
Exactly.
So, yep. So, well, it was a good fight back up there. And yeah, you're here once again. Next week we're going to Mid-Ohio. So, any thoughts going there? I mean, I think that's a track everybody.
I like Mid-Ohio. I just, of course, I never run Miami, Homestead, but I can't say it's my favorite track.
That was Stefan's thought. I think actually both Stefan and Steve both said the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I like more of the old school traditional tracks. So Mid-Ohio, I will enjoy. So yeah, no, I'm cool with Mid-Ohio. I mean, I had a decent pace here at Miami. I mean, I just screwed up going off in turn 1. Was it turn 2, I guess?
Yep.
where you know.
Well, there were a lot of cars cutting the grass over there as well. You weren't the only one, and you weren't the only one to get that speeding penalty either. So it was just good to see you guys all at a different track that you'd never been to before. I actually did know the track pretty well because I've ran a few races here, but I do understand exactly what you mean. That it's a roval, so it misses any elevation, like any character like that.
Right.
So in moderation, it's good. If it was like this every week, I would not want to be driving that. Yeah.
But I could be wrong. But I think I did get the fastest lap.
Let's see here. Let me see. According to my data, you did. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Only car. No, wait. Chris was in the 12s too, but you were a little bit better. Yeah, about almost a tenth faster. So yeah, not quite, but almost 10.
Yeah, that was probably when I was behind Stefan.
Yeah.
Early on, and I was getting the draft. Getting the tow.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, but I wasn't running. I was running more wing than probably a lot of these guys too. I just wasn't as comfortable. Like I believe Steve and Stefan. I don't think they were running any wing, and
they said they were running about 0, I believe. So yeah, no wing.
I wasn't comfortable, and Brian Kennedy shared his setup, and it had 0 wing, and I just wasn't comfortable with 0 wing. So I wasn't losing. I was losing a little bit on the oval.
Mm-hmm.
But if I got a good drive out of the last turn onto the oval, it wasn't. I wasn't losing much. I mean,
I think if I was driving the car, I would have had the wing in it too. So
I mean, I had 3.5 degrees. I actually had 4. I think I had 3.5 in qualifying. I think I bumped it up a little bit. Then I bumped it back down to 3.5. I was like, I guess I'll do 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I just wasn't. I wasn't prepared to go to 0, and I didn't do any practice.
Mm-hmm. Well, good results, like good qualifying position regardless, and a good recovery drive. Hey, sponsor shout outs, that kind of stuff. Anybody watching you want to give a thank you to?
That's why I wanted to get back up to 7th.
Yeah.
So I could give a shout out to myself, Treakle Insurance Agency, Auto, Home, Business, Life Insurance, Hagerty.
Yep.
Where we do, race car coverage for paddock coverage and collector car coverage. And then give a shout out to Sten at Beltway Brewery, SEO Mike, you for doing the live stream, Scott for setting it up, and just all the guys for coming together and having a good time on Thursday nights.
Sounds good. Well, you have a safe 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you back next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Take care.
See you, man. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that is it for us tonight. Let's go through our final results. Chris Hill takes the victory. Steve Ficacci and P2. Stefan Vapa there, P3. Brian Kennedy knocking on the door of that podium in P4. Igor Soiker, P5. A kind of a quiet race from Igor getting in the top 5, though. Dean Tulane, P6. Darren Treakle, P7. Colin Kortanek, trying to get that P7 once again, but in P8. Peter Yerksa, P9. Sten Cellier, P10. Bobby Blankenship, P11. Trace Hans, P12. Scott Kim, our admin there in P12. Barry Buchanan, actually, sorry, that was Scott Kim in P13. Barry Buchanan, I'm sure Scott's okay with me saying he's in P12 though. Barry Buchanan in P14. Matthew Stover in P15. And rounding out our field is Perry Duncan in P16. So that's it for us tonight. Actually, I see that wasn't completely up, so let me bring that up. Back up. I just read it. There it is. And that is it for us tonight. We'll be back next week for Mid-Ohio. Same time, same place. BMW Sports Car Club of America, National Capital Chapter. See ya. Have a safe weekend.